So we come monthly for the Tech Alley event. Sometimes I'll have somebody else from our SBDC office come in and speak regarding marketing strategy and such. And we try to bring in different resources, whether they're UNLV resources or industry resources, to help present it to the startup tech community. So, are they going to come in? Okay, so Innovation Essentials, this is really geared towards if you have an idea, if you have a concept, if you're startup mode, if you already have a successful business and looking to launch something else, right? Sometimes there's missing pieces and gaps. What do I need to do to not just develop my product, but to monetize it, but what do I need to do from a business standpoint, right? So at the SBDC, Small Business Development Center, we are funded by the SBA, and there are probably about 14 different business advisors here in Southern Nevada, and everything is provided at no cost to our community. So whether you come in early stage, our initial sessions, let's create a plan, and I have clients who are like, Rachel, can I schedule you once a week so we can do like an accountability check and make sure that we're on target with our strategies. So we do that as well. And again, it's all at no cost to you. So my name is Rachel Gomez Autry, and this is, that's my email address. If you'd like to, if you need to email me for anything. Again, who's the SBDC and how can we help you? So we are part of a national organization funded by the SBA, so that means it's your tax dollars at work. So there's never a cost to you. We promote economic development across the state by providing confidential business advising and training. So anything that you share with us, proprietary stuff, you're talking about patents, talking about concepts and ideas, it's all confidential. We are your first call to start your business with ongoing coaching to help you at every stage of growth. So now, the SBDC advisors, we all have different backgrounds and different specialties. So we try really hard to match you up with somebody who understands your specific industry. So a little bit about me. In addition to being a business advisor, I'm also founder of a company called Autry. It's a talent marketplace platform that goes beyond traditional job boards, and it's designed for the arts and entertainment and creative industry. I've also been an owner of my own executive search firm. We focused on Fortune 500 consumer products companies, brand leaders, consumer insights, and market intelligence companies. And then also, I'm an HR and staffing consultant and have had experience on the corporate side of actually recruiting and doing HR. So, capitalizing on new ideas requires a strong innovation strategy that is aligned with your organization's overall business objectives. So what does that mean? That means, the question is, what is your plan to grow your business or to get your product out into the marketplace, right? So it's important to identify that early while you're doing in your development phase and everything else. So we have clients that come to us, whether it's in tech or biotech or restaurant industry or the construction industry, and sometimes they're like, Rachel, we just have some gaps. We know what we know, but we don't know what we don't know. Right, so let's start from the beginning. Let's figure out what your overall objectives and goals are, and let's make sure that everything aligns. So working with business advisors and consultants can help new businesses in particular overcome those early hurdles and set you up for growth. In what ways do we help? So starting a business, we get a lot of clients that come in and I have an idea. Right? Or I'm getting ready to launch this. I have, with the growth in Las Vegas, we see a lot of staffing companies, coming in, and there's a lot of regulation and compliance that goes with that. So we help with new entity formation, all of those legal requirements to set you up and make sure that you're complying with everything that you need to be complying with. We can help with market research and analysis. If you're looking at funding opportunities, that usually comes with, you need a business plan, you need a marketing deck or a pitch deck, so we assist in all those areas. In growing your business organization, what does that look like? Are you a one-man person? Are you looking to bring on a team? Are you structured correctly? And then what is your marketing strategy? You may have a great product or great program out there, but how are you going to get it into the marketplace and how are you going to monetize that? So we can help you with that marketing strategy. And then how do you use social media to benefit that? We also help with digital assessments, again, marketing, pitch decks, that sort of thing. Managing a business. Oftentimes people don't think in terms of, oh my gosh, I can't do this by myself. It's time for me to hire an employee. So what sort of an employee? What are the gaps? What are your strengths that you want to be able to put into your business that you don't need to be doing? So CEOs and founders, you're wearing all the multiple different hats, but you don't need to be doing all of that. So when it comes time to looking at hiring employees, the big questions are always, do I do W-2, 1099? There's a lot of HR compliance and regulations that go with that. So we help you navigate through all of that. So UNLV, so the SBDC, again, we're part of a national organization. Each SBDC center office is tied to a university, and that's how the programs get funded, and that's how we roll it out. So here in Southern Nevada, we are in cooperation with UNLV's Office of Economic Development, and that's great because we also get access to all of the university's resources. So we mentioned for SBDC, you get the one-on-one consultations. We help you at every stage of growth for your business. We also host educational workshops. So whether that's in construction or whether it's in healthcare, big growing industries here in town. And then of course for the tech startup community. So UNLV, in terms of the resources that we utilize and that we can offer to our clients, we have a Step Up Startup program, which is, it's tied to our College of Engineering and also our Lee Business School. And if you as a client came in and said, you know, I need some data validation on this, I need help on software development, I need help with creating or developing a prototype, these are areas where we can match you up with undergrad, grad students, sometimes the professors at the university as well, to help you kind of maneuver and help you fill in that gap. In addition to that, we have Makerspace. That's also at the Blackfire Innovation location. And Makerspace is, they can help with all of your design needs, your graphic design needs. They help with large format printing if you need posters done. And they can also develop 3D prototypes for you. So if that's something that you need as SBDC clients, we match you up with that area, and the cost to you is significantly less. It's like 70% less than what you would be getting outside. Student-led programs, so if you have kids or know people with kids who are at UNLV, they have something called Rebel Forge, and that is their own tech startup environment, student-led with the support of faculty and the SBDC as well. And then a lot of people don't know that we're actually a patent and trademark resource center approved by the USPTO's office. So we get a lot of questions like, I have an idea, how do I go about patenting it? How do I do a patent search? What if it's just a trademark? What's the difference? Do I need to patent it if it's software, if it's a SaaS product? So we help navigate through that. We have somebody named Patrick Griffiths. He's come and he's spoken at our Innovation Essentials series at one time, and he's kind of presented what that looks like. If you need help with that, again, these are resources that we love to offer our community. And so today we actually have a special guest, Zero Labs, yay, wonderful, wonderful. They're the first accelerator focused on launching startups in the Las Vegas ecosystem, collaborative partnership with UNLV. We have Ryan, I almost called you Ryan Reynolds. Ryan Rubio, sorry. Ryan Rubio. And the goal really is to empower entrepreneurs to develop their ideas and innovations into opportunities for economic development, not just at UNLV, but for Nevada as a whole and then beyond, really trying to bring in a lot of international focus into our town. So without further ado, I'd like to bring up Ryan Reynolds. Do you want me to take that? I got it.
Yes. Hopefully this works.
Ryan Rubio.
Good morning, everyone. Rachel.
Oh, sorry.
I'll break this. Let's see if that's good there. No signal. Is it on? Should have tested this before. Okay.
We always go through this every month for some reason. I don't know, there's just some little something.
There's always something. And you'd think working in technology this long, there would be a stronger competency, but okay. Maybe I do need to use yours? Potentially. Let's see if we can get you on the Wi-Fi, because that might not.
We're able to get it up on their phone? Oh, there you go.
Oh, it's a Mac, isn't it? Sorry.
It is. We do our best. Okay, well. See if you can find my hotspot, and that might be the move. So sorry, everyone.
Oh.
Because you have a version of it that would work.
Wait, there's something there. Hey! Oh! It might just be.
It's teasing us.
Why is that happening? Yeah, it's something with the wire.
See if you can find this one. It should
She
be
had no problem.
Ryan's iPhone.
Yeah, it just.
See if you can find Ryan's iPhone on the wireless.
It's hanging down or something. It comes up every now and then.
It's thinking about it. Nothing? Maybe the Cox Wi-Fi? No, then you have to log in.
Yeah.
That's not super helpful.
You can try my Wi-Fi or my hotspot. Let me see. Sorry, guys.
Well, if we use theater of the mind for a moment, I can sort of start talking through some of this. My name is Ryan Rubio, as Rachel mentioned. I'm a principal at Zero Labs, and what we are doing is trying to really drive a lot of growth in the early stage venture ecosystem here in Las Vegas, specifically by focusing on acceleration programs that bridge our core industries of today with the ones that we're going to have tomorrow. My background, like probably many of the people in this room,
You want to try to send it to me? I'm on my.
it should be in your email if you have a version. No, you're good. So, like many of the people in this room, I'm an import. I came out here about 10 years ago. Caesars Entertainment grabbed me from LA after grad school, where I was at Universal Studios Hollywood, and then they brought me out. And they said, check out all these incredibly difficult technical problems that make this thing that you've been familiar with your entire life so much fun to play with, right? So we did a lot of enterprise digital transformation. We did a lot of work with long-term like customer experience strategy. And I had the opportunity to start working with a lot of startups and trying to bring them into kind of the giant behemoth that was Caesars, right? 2019, when they got acquired, like every good casino exec, I moved down the street to MGM Resorts, where I was lucky enough to lead the business and corporate development team with a focus on emerging technology strategy, right? And through all of those experiences, consistently, what kept coming up is, why is it so difficult to bring new ideas into this ecosystem? And then as we started pulling on that thread, it was sort of like, why is it so counterintuitively difficult to help startups grow in Las Vegas in general, right? And Zero Labs, and the things that I'm going to talk to you about today, specifically the Innovation Launchpad, is really our attempt to answer those questions. I have a co-founder, Quentin Singleton, who can't be here today. And he's a fourth generation Nevadan, unlike me. He's been in gaming his whole life as well, and specifically focused on online sports betting, iGaming, and between him and sort of his close network of friends over the last, call it 5-6 years, they've launched over 75 companies, about 5 or 6 of which have exited, and all of which are doing very, very well. Incredible. Okay. There we go. So like I said, theater of the mind, a much younger, much thinner version of me on the right. And there's Quentin. Like I was talking about, a lot of our career was really about bringing kind of entrepreneurs and early stage technology companies into big mature industries, right? And a lot of our work and our philosophy about the way we approach it that you'll see, I hope, come up again and again today is sort of like, how do you bring a truly Las Vegas approach to the startup ecosystem? Because today they feel very disconnected, right? And so what I hope you'll take away from like this conversation is like a peek behind the curtain of how do accelerators think about working with early stage entrepreneurs? How do we think that startups can be successful in the Las Vegas ecosystem? And sort of like what are some of the tools that we can give entrepreneurs like yourselves, in addition to all the incredible work that Rachel and her colleagues do? What else is out there for you? So like I said, we're trying to build a bridge between the Las Vegas of today and the one of tomorrow. And I'll sort of talk about what that means here in a second. We want to also look at like, how did we get here? So not a lot of people know this. I imagine most of the folks in this room will be familiar, but like that thing over there that as locals, we probably don't spend nearly as much time around as some of our visitors. Like that is a global economic powerhouse, right? $44 billion flows through there every year. 6 of the top 10 global gaming operations, and like 38 million people flew through Harry Reid a couple years ago, right? And so one of the things that we're trying to figure out is how do we put all of that to work for the startup ecosystem? Because today they're very disconnected. We know that innovation in our core industries, specifically kind of the hospitality, sports, gaming, entertainment, is underfunded and underfounded. So what do I mean by that? Well, if you look at 2021, which was like, all-time VC highs for pretty much everyone, and Nevada, we only did about $2.2 billion of investment in the entire state. And about 700 million of that was to a battery company in Reno, and 500 million of that number was to an analytics company, right? So when you look at sort of like the volatility of money moving through the ecosystem that could potentially be used to invest in high growth companies, it's just really not there, right? And so what we're trying to do with Zero Labs and the programs I'm going to talk to you about today is start to build a platform that allows everyone else to see all the amazing work that's happening in this city and start to sort of create a bridge for more and more of these resources, more and more of this expertise to come into the state. When we think about like what's difficult about innovation here, I think it's not a real surprise to anyone, but one of the two things that we think are actually really important when we look at the ecosystem and sort of like the lifetime cycle of a startup is we look at broken links in the chain, right? So you've got an idea, can someone help you get to that first grant, right? Or someone get you set up with your first round of financing? Or okay, you've got your first round of financing, who can make introductions to those customers, right? Okay, you've closed your first few customers, now you need to hire and start growing your development team, right? But it's very difficult to find talent. And if you fail at any individual one of those points, your journey's over. So when we look at like what we're building and the systems that we're trying to put in place, it's really about trying to fix those broken links and make sure that, doing startups is never easy, but you have the best chance of success possible. The second thing we think about is like, there's just not a lot of dedicated startup resources, right? Like I talked about earlier, 80%-ish of Nevada's economy flows through the Strip, but very little bit of that money is directly tied to an innovation economy, right? And so how do we sort of figure out how to get people who are interested in that stuff, who have money, they're here for fun, they're here for work, whatever it is, to start caring about our startups as much as they care about their trips. The way we sort of think about tackling this is kind of like, it's sort of like a vertically integrated model, right? Where we try to bring together the best of kind of our public institutions, which is going to be GOED, the governor's office, all the things that are happening at the SBDC, so city, state, and county. And then also kind of UNLV as a tier 1 research institution that is a fountain not just for potential future founders, but also for incredibly talented young people who are looking to grow their careers and they'd like to do it close to home if possible. The Step Up and Startup program that you referenced is absolutely incredible. We've placed about, I think, almost 20 students into the companies that we've been working with this year through that. And it's a little bit of extra paperwork, it's a little bit of extra work, but you have people who are incredibly talented across every field of engineering, that you're getting for $20 an hour that you don't even have to pay. You get reimbursed like 10 days later, right? All you have to do is manage them and help them grow and mentor them. So those are the first two legs of the stool. And then the third leg, like I keep talking about, is how do we bring sort of all the big businesses that exist in the state to the table and put them to work alongside founders like yourselves. When I talk about sort of bridging today and tomorrow, right, people always ask like, oh, is this just a, hospitality, sports, gaming, entertainment focused program? No. By definition, today it's going to look a little bit like that because it's a reflection of where the Nevada economy is right now. But when we look to the future, when we talk about economic diversification, right, we're really trying to figure out how do we build from the strengths that we have today and start growing towards the ones that are maybe nascent but could also be global leaders in the future. So you think about aerospace, specifically around Nellis Air Base. The Air Force has a big innovation center here called AFWorks. You look at biotech, UNLV has some incredible researchers doing excellent work. You think about logistics, right? How if you go to North Las Vegas, pretty much every package headed to the West Coast comes through the city, at least in part. And you start thinking about other types of infrastructure. Renewable energy, you think about network infrastructure, all the internet basically runs through here at Switch before going back and forth between the coasts. Those are the sorts of areas where we're trying to say, okay, regardless of whether there's money, regardless of whether there's talent, like the companies that we're trying to find are the ones that should be built here no matter what. Because those are the companies that can grow into their size, their leadership role, and they continue to be global winners long after they finish our programs. So what are our programs? So the first thing that we launched earlier this year in January is something called the Innovation Launchpad. And the Innovation Launchpad was really born out of conversations between ourselves, the governor's office, and UNLV, where we started saying, how do we start shifting the conversation around Las Vegas and around startups in this economy? How do we start showing people that talented folks will build great ideas, potentially great companies here in Las Vegas? And the launchpads are sort of a way to begin aggregating that supply of potential founders and really putting them under a spotlight so that everyone can see how special the city is. I'll kind of briefly touch on these, but it's essentially a 3-day weekend, incredibly intense. We start at 7 a.m. on Friday and we finish at around 7 p.m. on Sunday. It's free to attend for anyone that's accepted. They just have to handle their own lodging and travel. We feed you the whole time, I think, as Rachel can attest. And we essentially have 3 components. There's a workshop, which is I think what a lot of people think about when they imagine like what an accelerator looks like. Classroom, slides like this, random guy like me talking at you for hours on end. And we have a little bit of that, but not nearly as much as you would expect. And then we have our breakouts. And this is where we spend most of the weekend, about 60 to 70% of your time between Friday and Sunday. And this isn't like a hackathon, right, where we put you in a random team and like you maybe kind of sort of work on something, but the guy you got randomly assigned to sucks, right? We're working on your project. You apply with a project, you can bring up to 2 co-founders, and then you're working all weekend long. We carve out that space. And what we do during that breakout is we surround you not just with our team, but with experts drawn from around the world who have different types of industry and functional expertise, who can sit down and talk to you from a regulatory perspective about what have they seen their industry evolving into over time, right? Or if you bring in someone who was a head of product, or a vice president of product at MGM Resorts, they can talk to you about what they're seeing in terms of the way people experience the Strip and how they interact with technology, right? These are conversations that are just like invaluable for any founder, but those resources are kind of locked up inside these large organizations today, and we really try to expose them so that you can take advantage of them. And then the last thing we do is we have a big networking event on Friday night, and that was really born out of a couple insights. The first is that many of the founders that we work with are mid-career, so they're 31 plus. It's not, not everyone's like 18, 19. And while they have deep subject matter expertise and they have really great professional networks, they don't have a network that's necessarily relevant for their startup, right? And so we use this event to put a spotlight on the entire program, but also it's a way to sort of like ignite that startup network for each individual founder and make sure that come Monday morning, not only do they have a really well-defined idea of like what they're trying to do next with the project, but they've got the resources, the relationships, and the skills to hit the ground running and start setting those follow-up calls and doing all the other infinite things that have to be done. Like I mentioned, it's pretty intense. I just sort of wanted to flash this up so you can sort of see 7 a.m. Friday through 8, 9 o'clock Friday night. Saturday, slightly shorter. We finish around 7, but we have a lot of founders that will go back to their homes, their hotel rooms, whatever it is, and work overnight. And then Sunday, we sort of wrap it up and transition out to we sort of think about, we introduce a lot of topics that we don't cover during the 3 days of the weekend, but are super relevant to be thinking about. And we start to talk about transition. What does Monday morning look like? What does Tuesday morning look like? This is where we start to see a lot of folks do their Friday night follow-ups and start calendaring calls, meetings, and everything else for the following week. The breakouts, like I said, very action-oriented, stickies everywhere, like you are working. I had to find an excuse to get Rachel into this somehow while she was wearing her artsy hat. But you can see, like, this was about 10 a.m. on Friday morning with this team, right? Yeah, it's a lot of work, and people are consistently surprised. I've got to figure out how to measure this better. Like, I cannot overstate how much work it is, but we hope it's valuable, and I think that's what people are telling us. When we look at like who supports you, right? I keep talking about how do we unlock talent and bring it into the workshops to support you in the breakouts. You've got the head of marketing for the Sphere, right? You've got Jonathan Michaels, who's basically did online sports betting in the United States from a regulatory perspective. You've got current founders like Wendy Song Dowling from Evolution, who just moved here 8 months ago from the Bay Area and was like, I want to give back. I know the community has an opportunity to grow. How can I get involved? And then we've got a bunch of folks from UNLV, we've got VCs, we've got people like Mike on the corner who are flying in from LA. He's the director of product marketing at Yelp. And they're here to sit with you and spend time with you and help you grow your project, right? And this is just a selection of I think we broke 25, 30 throughout the weekend this last time. Like I said, the networking event, jumpstarting that startup network for yourself. I won't dwell on this too much. I just want to call out this guy right here, tall, good-looking, dark guy, me in a different life. He is Mark Cuban's personal attorney, and he does all the Shark Tank deals for Mark. And he caught a plane out from Dallas to be here for 2 hours before he got back on a plane to go home, right? So these are the type of people that we're trying to bring to bear to support our founders, because they see the promise of Las Vegas, they see the promise of specific things that people are building here, and they want to do more. When we look at sort of like, what is the founder experience, right? Because obviously I'm up here, I run the thing, I have a deep attachment to it, I think it's pretty good. But what we're hearing from folks like yourselves is like, this is valuable, this was a good use of their time. They're meeting people that are gonna stick with them long after the program ends. Sorry, I skipped over this. And then when we look at like organizations, everyone on here is either contributing resources, their people's time, or other kind of like services to help make the program successful, right? So that once you come out of the launchpad, you have access to people across this full range who are there to help you grow your business over time, right? Because so much, the devil's in the details, and this is 3 days. I know it's what's going to be like a 10 to 15 year journey. So these are the people that are going to go with you alongside us. So who participates? Like I said earlier, the core industries, present and future. Like Rachel alluded to, we've been very fortunate to see that this is not just a locals program. And what I mean by that is that Las Vegas is not just a local city. It's very unique in that regard, right? 42 million people travel through here every year. So for us, it only seemed intuitive that the program should aspire to be as international and as connected as the city is. So when we look at sort of the distribution, yes, 40 to 50% of the program's anchored here in Nevada, but we've got people coming in from all over the East Coast, a surprisingly strong contingent from Latin America. And I'm already thinking about updating this slide. We've got multiple applications from Brazil for cohort 3 already. So you'll see that in a few months. People are like, oh, you work with the university. It's just a UNLV program for students or faculty or something. Again, not correct. About 40 to 50% of the founders, depending on the cohort we're talking about, do have some sort of affiliation with UNLV. But guess what? So does 40 or 50% of the city, right? Lots of alumni, some faculty, a growing contingent of undergraduate and graduate students coming from sort of across the entire range of the university. But again, they're bringing all these different ideas in. They're giving you fresh, new perspectives, and they're working alongside you to grow their projects with yours. When you look at sort of like the mix of companies, we've been fortunate to work with 38 companies in the last 6 months, represented by about 53 founders. You can find all these folks online. If you follow us on LinkedIn, you'll see us just relentlessly spamming these out there. And it's been really, really special to see how the mix of the program actually reflects what we hoped it would at the beginning of the year. So you see about 40 to 50% of these companies are obvious things in hospitality, sports, gaming, entertainment, but 40 to 50% of these companies are also going to be more forward-looking, right? They're going to be looking at what's the future of Las Vegas. If they're in education, they're really looking at some of the core issues that education faces here in Southern Nevada and building solutions that will then scale across the entire country and eventually potentially the world. We're very proud of our NPS scores here. Y Combinator, 500 Co, Techstars, Plug and Play, they all average out around 65, 70. Our program is small, it is new, but we're really excited that the founders we've been fortunate enough to work with seem to enjoy it as much as we enjoy delivering it. I think the one that I actually really have to talk about is that 88% of the folks that come through the program would do it again, even though they have all the materials and everything, with a different idea, right? And so that really shows how valuable that time in the space with this group of people is for folks. What happens after? Well, lots of people are getting ready for fundraising, no surprise. Not everyone wants VC, which is good, even though eventually that's going to be more of our lane. But what we do is we look at this, we look at this, we talk to you about what you need, we talk to you about your priorities, we say, what do you need to make your project more successful? And then we work with all the partners I showed you earlier to set up kind of post-program support. Webinars, resources, discounts, AWS credits, like you name it, we try to bring it to the table so that you can focus on the work, which is the most important thing. What's next? Cohort 3, October 4th through 6th. It's coming faster than I ever imagined. It's at Blackfire Innovation. Is everyone familiar with Blackfire? No? Maybe? Okay. So, quick note on Blackfire Innovation. Constructed in 2019, 2020. It opened right into the teeth of COVID, but it was a collaboration between UNLV and, at the time, Caesars Entertainment. And it was meant to be a place where university resources could come together with private industry so that both could support entrepreneurship. It was initially very focused on hospitality, sports, and gaming, but like everything else in the world, after the pandemic, they sort of realized that there was a broader need, there was a broader lens, and we've partnered with them to bring our programs into this space. It's shifting a lot, it's evolving constantly, but I think I would predict that within the next 2 to 3 years, it's going to be one of the best places to be an entrepreneur in Southern Nevada, if not the whole state. So that's where we have the program. Applications are open. They've been open for a couple of weeks now, and we're hoping to have the class finalized by, call it, the beginning of September, beginning mid-September, so everyone has time to sort of plan and get organized. As far as class size goes, we're looking for about 15 participating companies. Like I said, each one can bring up to 2 people, so do the math, it's between 25 and 30 founders that you'll be working alongside. I'll pause But any questions? I know that was a lot, but I wanted to sort of get through it, and then I'm happy to go whichever direction the group thinks is most useful. Yeah?
Requirements? What are the requirements for,
Like, in what sense?
like you said, applications are open, what are the requirements? I still think that, like,
What's the filter?
Like, you have to be a liquor student, or some kind of related to
It's open to anyone.
university.
It's open to anyone from anywhere. You don't have to be affiliated with the university. Like I said, 50% or more of our founders are not, depending on the cohort. But what the filter that I would think about is, do you have an idea that's uniquely suited to being built in Las Vegas, and are you the person to build it, right? That's broad.
Can you build uniquely in Las Vegas, or?
Yes, or is suited. Maybe I said that wrong. I apologize. But like, you have an idea that should be built here. And that's for a couple reasons, right? We don't believe that you can force ecosystems. So if you're trying to build like a new Gen AI frontier model in Las Vegas, you probably should be in San Francisco, right? Or you should be in New York. You should be near a hub of people that are doing that kind of work, right? So when we think about sort of founder program fit, we're really looking for those ideas where you can put a spotlight on someone. It's obvious why they're in Las Vegas or working on something that's related to Las Vegas. And it's very easy for everyone to support them because all the resources and everything else is like a great fit for what that person's building. This is, asterisk, very much our parochial view of the world, because this is sort of how we think we can provide value. There are a lot of programs that have a broader focus or a different focus that do a lot of great work for founders there, but like that's just sort of how we look at the launch pads.
Follow on that, about what percentage of applicants get approved versus rejected with their ideas?
It's a number I should know off the top of my head. I think we're at, between the two cohorts, about a 20 to 30% acceptance rate. Yeah, it's starting to go down a little bit, but yeah, go ahead.
I have another question, just for curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
With the first and second cohorts, what kind of ideas were there?
Yeah.
Curious, like what people mostly are interested in, what kind of businesses now?
So it depends, right? It's as diverse as the city is. So these two, Vision Bytes and iLearn, those are actually UNLV students that just graduated. They were finalists for the President's Innovation Challenge, and they're working on generative AI solutions for education. One of them is working on a company that basically rapidly accelerates, meant to rapidly accelerate English as a second language teaching to get people up to speed. If you go down to Satvik Emery from cohort 1 out of Reno, she's working on sort of like a new metadata for cybersecurity that gives people a lot of tools to fight specifically social engineering attacks, starting in the gaming industry. And if you look at, what's another good one? Mod Garden, Amar from Rachel's cohort. He's out of Austin, I think. But he's working on sort of like vertical farming solutions initially for restaurants, but over time grows into like hotels, commercial real estate, and eventually even sort of like vertical farming that's distributed across cities, right? So it really is all over the place. Any other questions? No? Okay. Well, if you guys are curious about the program, don't hesitate to look at our website, which is hiding down here somewhere. Take a look at the website, zerolabs.io. There's a contact email there. We get all of those right away. We reach out, we respond to everything pretty quickly. So we're happy to answer any questions that aren't in the FAQs. There's also videos and photos if you want to get a better sense of like what does the weekend feel like, what does it look like. And we're excited to hear from a few of you, hopefully. Thank you.
Thank you. And I was so happy he was able to find a couple pictures of me.
Yeah, looking good.
Thank you. And so I think I mentioned earlier when we were over at Taverna out on the patio, I have a separate tech platform for the arts and entertainment industry called Autry. And I was privileged enough to be able to be a participant in cohort 2. At cohort 1, I actually came in as an SBDC advisor to help some of the startups and founders just kind of offer the resources for the SBDC. But being a participant in cohort 2 was really, it was a pivotal moment for our company. And it was interesting because I remembered when Ryan, because you have to interview for it, right? Interview for it? And when he asked me, why do you want to do this? Because the product was already live and we already had a marketing strategy. And I said, we're going in loops. So we keep doing the same things and something's not working. So I need to go back to the foundations and I need to hear from other founders, get inspired by other founders, learn about this program and see if I can kind of shake it and get out of that mode. And sure enough, come Monday morning, I was like, I know what I need to do. And so I credit that to Innovation Launchpad and Cohort 2.
That's so kind.
And so, yeah.
Thank you.
And so it really is a wonderful program. And the participants come at all different stages. There are a lot that come in very early stage. I have a concept, and we've thought it all through. Now we're looking for funding, or now we're looking for validation, or now we're looking for. And so it was really wonderful that it really isn't targeted for one specific stage of the life cycle of your company, but it really helps you to, with all of these different resources, just kind of help you fill in that gap and take you to that next level.
Yeah.
Very concrete things, so thank you so much. Ryan.
Yeah, no, thank you. And I think you brought up 2 points that I should have included in the presentation, but I didn't. I think the first is that, going back to slide 2 or 3, talking about broken links, right? We very intentionally position ourselves in the context of all the other programs that are taking place in the city. So we have people that have been referrals from SBDC, where they needed to go do some work, get some foundations in place, and then once they're really ready to do like a short, sharp kick to the pants and get going, then they can come to our program. We've had people come out of our program who need to go to the SBDC, right, and spend some more time there. And if you think about all the other resources that are in the city, we're building a lot of that connectivity, right? Because this is, again, 3 days, and this is a 10, 15, 20-year journey for each of you. Yeah.
So thank you. We're going to stick around if you guys have any other questions. It's a wonderful collaborative partnership between UNLV and Zero Labs. But their program in and of itself, please take a look at it. And if you or anyone else that you know might be interested and could benefit from the program, please look them up, apply, or get interviewed by Ryan.
Yeah, I need a new filter for that one.
Sorry. But thank you.
Thank you, everyone. This is fun.